Greetings, Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big, huge thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing. You don't have to do it. No pressure, but those of you who do it anyway, it means the world to us. So huge thank you. And I got to give a shout out to our latest patron, Mr. Rich Wood. Hey, Rich, welcome to the family. Thank you so much for pledging and helping support the show. Means a lot, and happy to have you aboard. So, Rich, this one goes out to you and everybody else out there. You guys, the patrons, you're the best. So big thank you. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all the shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com. And as always, I am your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram or on Letterboxd, which I always forget to mention. It's Andy DiGenova, just my name. Don't go to Letterboxd right now, though, because it's got my list of animated Batman films. You're going to spoil the whole episode for yourself. Don't go. Wait till after the episode, then go do it. And that is what we're going to be talking about. This is part 2 of our conversation ranking the animated Batman films. So if you haven't heard part 1, you got to go over to The Fire Rises. The Fire Rises, a Batman podcast, and listen to us rank 25 to 6. So we ranked most of them over there because we tried to do it really fast until we got to the top 10. Go check out the first part on The Fire Rises, because now we're going to wrap it up. We're going to talk about our top 5 Batman animated movies, and we're going to see how you guys voted, see what the listener vote turned out to be. On this episode, joining me, my Bat brother from down under, who's all curled up because it's winter there. Because up is down, left is right, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. It's Brendan. Hey, Brendan.
How you going? Left is right is something that's going to come up in one of my movies, actually.
Oh, really? That's
how
fortuitous for us all. That's great. Welcome back. Glad you're all cozy there.
Yeah.
I'm sending you warm vibes from Florida. I got plenty to spare.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to get a blanket and a hot water bottle between finishing the last episode and starting this one, because it's quite chilly here.
That's kind of adorable. I'm just picturing you all curled up, you know.
I'm just in my office with a blanket and hot water bottle on my feet, because if my feet get cold, I cannot.
Who uses a hot water bottle?
Me, because if my
people
feet
use hot water
cold,
bottles.
Old people.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that old people use.
Yeah, but if my feet get cold, the rest of me cannot warm up, and my feet are freezing. So I had to get something for my feet.
Okay, well, the more we learn about
all
these years
had
together.
2 pairs of socks on and shoes, and my feet were still freezing.
I think you need to see a doctor, is what I think. I think you have circulation problems.
It's only in winter. It's just my feet get real. I feel the cold, and my feet get really cold.
Okay, well, thanks for being here. Thanks for braving the cold in your house to be here. Yeah. Jamie's not here. Jamie's got better things to do than talk to us.
Like watching Driving Miss Daisy, apparently.
Is he watching Driving Miss Daisy?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing tonight.
Well, it was on Real Fans like 40 minutes ago that he was watching
What
Driving
the hell? What is that? Jamie, what the hell is that? Of all the movies you could possibly watch on a Saturday night, instead of podcasting about Batman, you're watching Driving Miss Daisy? Is it because Jessica Tandy uses a hot water bottle to warm herself up at night?
Hey,
Weird.
I'm not ashamed to use a hot water bottle. Keeps my feet warm.
All right, Miss Daisy, whatever works for you.
You can. No, I'm not gonna. Anyway.
Anyway, we've got 2 special guests filling the very large hole left by Jamie Drewley. If you already listened to the first part of The Fire Rises, you know who they are. So it's the 2 hosts of The Fire Rises, our pals Joe and Eric. So first, Eric Carter, welcome back to Holy BatCast. It's been a minute.
Thank you. I don't even remember when I was on last, but I'm happy to be back. We had a ton of fun on the first half, and I'm looking forward to finishing this up. And it's hilarious. The more I know about Brendan, the more he's like one of the Golden Girls. So
he really is.
Yeah. He's aging before our eyes.
Yeah, I think he's Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
you
makes sense.
think?
See,
You
I
think?
think so.
it's funny because the house I grew up in didn't have air conditioning or anything. So, like, in winter, and where I grew up was colder than Brisbane, like, you had to just have a hot water bottle and blanket and stuff. And it's just something I've always carried with. I've just always just done that. If I'm really cold, I get a blanket and a hot water bottle.
Wait, do you guys call heat air conditioning?
Yes.
Huh.
It makes no sense, man. I know. Well, Eric,
He
glad to have
literally
you
li-
back.
He literally lives in the upside down.
It really is. That's why he loves Stranger Things so much.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
But
the
thank you.
toilets going the wrong way are the least of his problems at this point.
Is
Very
that true? Is it just Simpsons?
I don't think that, because our toilets flush completely differently to yours. Like, yours are weird. And
They
your
go upside
toilets
down?
your toilets have so much water in them. Oh my god.
Well, you use all the water
Yeah,
for your hot water
what do
bottle.
you have?
Like, there's water, but you guys, like, it's
Is it just Foster's instead of water?
depends how dehydrated I am. It might look like that afterwards, but no. No, it just, your toilets are very, very different.
Huh. Wow. The more you know. Anyway, that's not what this is about. Eric, good to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
We also heard his voice, Mr. Joe Fornato. Not Joseph. We're not nearly as formal here on Holy BatCast. Just Joe.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much for having me on.
Who the hell's Andrew? I don't even know who that is.
No, it's great to be here. Yeah, the first half was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we got on the top fives. We had some interesting takes from Mr. Australia over there.
Mostly Brendan. Yeah.
You know, we're still waiting for him to say Batman and Harley Quinn. So
I mean, we're not going to say that till the end. Number one.
I have said it.
Best Batman animated movie. Brendan Lowe. It's actually on the cover on the DVD. It says Best Batman animated movie. Brendan Lowe.
Actually, I will
Upside
say
down.
The steelbook for that movie is actually quite nice. Despite what you think of the
You
movie,
bought the
steelbook is good.
steelbook?
I buy a steelbook of all of these. Like, if a steelbook,
really?
If a steelbook comes out, I buy the steelbook.
Huh.
You
Well,
have
I
one up
respect the commitment.
Joe here.
Yeah.
That's one down. That is not one up.
Okay.
All right. Well, good to have you guys back. Before we get to the list, though, I also have to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped. They're nice enough to sponsor the show. They're also nice enough to give us a promo code so that anybody listening, if you're going to go do some shopping at Manscaped, you get 20% off and free shipping. That code is BATSCAPED. BATSCAPE. So if you're going to go do some shopping, use that. And right now, second half of July, they want you to know about their new boxers and all kinds of good stuff. The Lawnmower 4.0. So I don't read these in advance. Crotch discomfort hurting your game? Fear no more. The kings of crotch comfort, Manscaped, have spent 2 years designing the most comfortable boxer briefs out there. Sleek, soft, comfortable, and flexible, the brand new Boxers 2.0 from Manscaped take your balls to the royal ball throne. The global I'm just saying.
Sorry,
just go with it. Just go for the ride. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the Lawnmower 4.0 for the trimming, so you can wear the Boxers 2.0 for the chillin'. They even trademarked the jewel pouch, so you know it's serious. I think it's time you invest in your family jewels, so let your bulge breathe and get 20% off and free shipping by using our code BATSCAPED at manscaped.com. You know what? They're saying it, but I will tell you, it's true. They were nice enough. They sent me 3 pairs of boxers. 3. It was so nice of them. They are super comfy. They're not just whistling Dixie. They're amazing. They're great. Super soft, super comfy. They're wonderful.
I was going to say, Dixie will be whistling when it wears these. So
I'll tell you, I don't have any crotch discomfort to speak of. Thank you very much, because I got the Boxers 2.0. And the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer that you can get. I'm just telling you, I've tried a bunch. It's the one that I'll never go back. Worth every penny, every extra penny than what you would pay for any of the the shelf ones, because it's so nice. It's so comfy. They got the LED light, great battery. You don't nick yourself. You don't bleed. Totally worth it. You can get all the different packages, the variety packs. That's great. But at the very least, look at the trimmer, especially if you do some body hair trimming. the Lawnmower 4.0, you can't go wrong. It's the best one I've ever tried. So check out the boxers, the trimmer, whatever looks good on manscaped.com. But if you're going to make a purchase, again, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. And as I've said before, but it's so important, even if something's on sale on the website, even if, still use BATSCAPED because you get an additional 20% off. Can't beat that. So go to manscaped.com, see what they got. If you like it and you're going to make a purchase, just use Batscaped because you get to save some money and they know that you heard about them from us. And that means good things for us and everybody wins. So we would appreciate that.
Oh, and also, Andy, with your subscription, if you have the performance package, where they send you the little additions quarterly, I think. If you go in, you can also apply your promo code to those quarterly shipments.
Nice.
I realized that very recently.
Good. I'm glad you figured it out. So saving money is always good, and the products are super high quality. And yeah, so if you can get the good stuff and save the money and support your favorite Batman podcast or one of your two favorite Batman podcasts, how about that? Everybody wins. So yeah, please do go to manscaped.com. But if you're going to buy something, use Batscaped. We would certainly appreciate that. Now it's time to start the party for real. Like I said, please go check out The Fire Rises to hear what we had to say about numbers 25 through 6. Without further ado, it is time to get to the final rankings of our Batman animated films. But just in case you didn't listen to part 1, we'll just put some little caveats out there, some explanation for the rules of how we created our list. We had a list of 25 Batman animated films, and it's because if we did every animated film that featured Batman, the list was unruly. It was crazy. It was so unruly, you needed a Lawnmower 4.0 to trim that shit down. And so we were like, okay, let's kind of pare this down to a more manageable list that makes sense. And so there were certain things that we eliminated, like Justice League movies. Even though Batman's in them, they're not Batman movies, so we eliminated those. The ones that, even though Batman is in the title, we all know they weren't really Batman movies, like Assault on Arkham or Soul of the Dragon. We got those out. We lumped the two-parters together as one movie. The direct-to-video Lego ones we did not include. The Batman Unlimited ones we did not include. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those, but most people aren't as familiar with those. And so because of all that, we got it down to a nice list of 25 that we're pretty happy with. And like I said, on The Fire Rises, we talked through a bunch of them, but now we're in the moment of truth, our top 5s. And then after that, we're going to see how y'all voted. So top 5, we'll start with number 5, work our way up. So Eric, you were nice enough on The Fire Rises to let us go first. I will return the favor. So guests first. Eric, why don't you tell us what your number 5 is and why?
Okay, so, well, this one's kind of in honor of our missing Jamie Drewley. My number 5 is The Dark Knight Returns. And, I said this on our show about a couple of the films. Some of them are just such good adaptations of not just the story but the art. And I think without just getting it, page to screen, they did as good as you possibly could at adapting Frank Miller's art style and even keeping it somewhat cleaner than Frank Miller does at times. And I think the two parts making this huge movie are just epic and sprawling, and it's such a fun time with a classic, iconic Batman story. And it's one, because of the runtime, I probably don't visit as often as some of the others, but when I want a good immersive Batman experience, The Dark Knight Returns is one that I definitely go to, and that's why it cracks my top 5.
All right, there you go. Jamie will be happy. Somewhere, Jamie's going to pause driving Miss Daisy and smile based on your review.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean,
Joe, what about you? What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. I love this movie for, like we were talking about the adaptations. It took a story that this might be a controversial take, but I find Gotham by Gaslight. I know everyone loves the comic. Um, I find it a little, dare I say, overrated.
Mhm.
It's not a book that I read a lot. If I've read it twice, maybe. But this movie, I watch this movie all the time. I love the way that they adapted it. I love that they, from what I understand, they took elements from the sequel to the book and kind of incorporated them into this film also. Um, the twist with the killer, I couldn't even remember who the killer was in the book. Uh, I love that they changed it up for the movie, and I think they did an excellent job with it. I just I love the animation in this. I love how they took Batman's world and even, expanded on that for the adaptation, which wasn't really a part of the book. Between the Robins and Catwoman, and I just think they took a great book that everyone really does love. And I'm not trying to slight the book by any means. I think it's a very good book. But I think they took a book that everyone loved, but for some reason people were more willing, I think, to go with a change from the book to the movie. And I think it's also because they did such a good job at making that change. And I watch this at least once a year. I do kind of put this into my Halloween rotation. um I think it's a good movie to watch at that time, even though it's not technically a Halloween movie. But
Yeah, but
I
it has enough
Yeah.
Halloween vibes that I thought the same thing. I haven't really put it into my Halloween rotation because, well, my list is not lacking. But I did think that. I'm like, yeah, I think it fits because just it has that mood.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge horror guy as much as you guys are. So like this is like a perfect wheelhouse for me to get like that you know, spooky kind of feeling in it. It's Batman. It's still like it's pretty gruesome. It's animated, so it's a little bit more accessible for someone like me. But even though I have definitely gotten more accustomed to watching horror in the last, 5 years, whatever it's been since I've taken into the whole atmosphere of the Scarathon. But I just love this movie. I think this is the perfect way to take a comic book and adapt it in a different way to the screen for an animated film. And I think this should be the bar. This set the bar for how to do that, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It was mine. Well, I won't say where it was. You have to go back to the other episode to listen. But yeah, I had already mentioned it before, but this is such a good movie, and I'm with you. It does what Batman Hush does wrong. This one
Yes.
does right.
Hmm.
It takes a twist. It changes the story, but it does it in a way that's surprising and fresh, and doesn't leave you scratching your head asking why did they do that. That makes no sense. But yeah, I agree with everything you said about the atmosphere of this film, and the way it's definitely a fitting spooky season movie too.
Well, and I think that I definitely agree with you in that I wouldn't say that the book is overrated. Maybe that's too strong a word, but I do think that the book is a great concept and a good book.
Hmm.
And what they did for the animated version is they took a great concept and made a great movie. So they used everything that worked in the book and then tweaked it and changed it in enough and made it even better, which is what you want. When you do an adaptation, it gives you an opportunity to improve on the source material. And I think that this is an example where they do.
Yeah, that's a better
Hmm.
way of putting it, because
Agreed.
it's not that I think the book's overrated. It's pretty short from what I remember. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they really expanded it and really expanded Batman's world in that story, which is why I love the movie so much more than the book. And that's not really to slight the book. It's just I wanted more, and that's what the movie gave me.
Right. And they do it very creatively, like you said,
Yes.
like incorporating Catwoman and Poison Ivy and the Robins. All of that stuff is really fun. And
Hmm.
that was not from the original book.
Hmm.
All right, cool. Brendan, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Batman: Return of the Cape Crusaders.
Oh,
I think, yeah, I think I've got this higher than anyone else, but
are you the
look,
last one to talk about this? I
I
think.
think so, yeah.
I think
But
so.
for for me, I, I it's hard to word. Like, I almost think I willed this movie into existence, because for so long I'd been thinking, particularly when they started doing these, direct to video movies in 2007, I think it was. Like, you had a fan base of Batman 66. You had the majority of the core cast still alive. I mean, you had Adam and Bert still alive. That was the main thing. And I'm just kind of like, why? The comics were a thing. So I'm like, why haven't they done an animated movie? Like, just bring Adam and Bert back and do an animated, direct to video movie. To the point that the first time I ever wrote into Holy BatCast was about, hey, do you think they should do a,
Really?
direct? Yeah, like back in like 2014, I think.
Wow.
Was like,
If I'd
why
have
don't?
known then what I know now.
Yeah, right. You never would have read the email. Like, why?
Code red, code red. Delete, delete,
delete,
delete.
delete. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back in time and go, just delete that one. You'll thank me later.
Like, why don't they do this as a movie? And I, obviously you and Jamie are like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, and it did. And when this movie was announced, I was so happy, because I'm just like, I can't be the only person that wanted this or thought this, but I'd been thinking it and wanting it for so long. And, I saw it at the cinema, and I had such a blast with it. Like, to me, this is the ultimate. Like, I know there's Lego Batman and Batman Harley Quinn as comedic Batman movies, but to me, this is the best of the Batman comedy movies. Um, I think it works really well, almost as a direct sequel to the Batman 66 movie.
Yeah.
I honestly, I mean, I know you guys talked about the likeness things. Like, that didn't bother me, because like I got the whole, like, well, it could be a likeness issue and rights and that kind of stuff. My only complaint about the movie is the Batmobile driving out to the left instead of the right. Like, that's my only complaint that I really have about it. The rest of it, I think they just absolutely nailed. They got the spirit of the 66 show. They got the look of the 66 show. They amped up the humor, obviously, to make it a bit more, like, play to more a modern day audience, without it being, so camp. But that's part of the joke with it, I guess. But yeah, I loved it, and it was great to see, the Batman of my childhood back again, and portrayed in such a loving and way. And it's just a shame that, that what came later, I don't think lived up to this one, and that we didn't get more of it. But yeah, what we did get was really, really good, and it's solidly in my top 5.
Well, alrighty. My top 5, I'm joining Eric. It is Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so I'm with you on this one. You said it all very well. It's a great adaptation of an iconic Batman story. I do love The Dark Knight Returns, not as much as Jamie Truly, but nobody loves it as much as Jamie Truly. But I do love that story. I think it's an amazing Batman story, and I think that the animated film version gives you everything you would want from an animated version of that story. As you said, I really love the way they were able to translate and evoke Frank Miller in the animation without making it a direct translation, but they certainly captured the spirit of his design of these characters. And I think it really delivers on that. I think the animation is great. I think that it is incredibly faithful, but this is a case where I think that works. So, I don't think you want to mess with it too much, because it's a masterpiece. It's one of the most influential comic stories of all time. And I think they made the right decision of just doing the story, but doing it very earnestly and in the purest form you could. It's a great movie. It's a great Batman movie. And yet they still treat every moment as if it's the first time you're seeing it, which I think that's always a tricky thing when it's a story that we all know so well.
Mm-hmm.
They present it in a very straightforward but inspired way, and I just think it's, yeah, I as far as I'm concerned, it's the best adaptation I could ask for from The Dark Knight Returns. I think it delivers.
I agree, and I don't think Peter Weller gets talked about enough when people talk about Batman voices.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want him on every one, but for this particular story, he was perfect.
Yeah. And Michael Emerson as the Joker is so creepy.
Oh, yes, terrifying.
Yeah, like again, the perfect creepy version of the Joker that is right at home in this story.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the Dark Knight Returns is awesome.
Totally agree.
All right, number fours. We're getting down to it, Eric.
Yeah, my number 4 is gonna make Brendan fall out of his chair. My number 4 is Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Batman Beyond, it just hit. I don't know, that show hit me in the sweet spot at the time, and I really connected with it. Really liked the show, and then this movie. I remember this movie coming out, and I was floored by it. I thought it was such a perfect mix of the beyond continuity that they were building and the story, and revisiting the world of Batman the animated series. And just the performance by Mark Hamill is so good in this movie. And the I think we talked about it with the Batman versus Dracula when we ranked that one, but this one also has some themes and some imagery that is just very heavy and dark, and some of it is scary and troubling, and especially like the stuff with Tim Drake and the direction they went with him in this world is it really is scary. So for that reason, I mean, to get all of that out of what is a quote unquote kids movie is phenomenal to me, and I absolutely love this film.
I have no problem with that. It is a great movie. Um, and you're right, Mark Hamill. I mean, he's always great as the Joker, but he gives another amazing performance in this.
Doesn't it
And
seem like there's times where he just really like he's always great as Joker, like you said, but there's times, and I noticed this in the Arkham games as well, where I don't know if he just enjoys the what he's doing a little more or what, but he just really turns it on.
He takes
yeah,
it to another level.
yeah, for sure. And you know, what's funny is this. I mean, this was at the bottom of most of our lists was The Killing Joke. That was Conroy and Hamill, and I thought they were both pretty flat in that one.
Mm.
Which is so strange because they've done it for 30 years now. They're, they can do it in their sleep and they're always good. And I feel like in that one, they're not so great. But you're right. When they're on, and they certainly are for Return of the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Joe, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Batman vs Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hey.
Nice.
So this movie could have literally been like the worst story you could possibly imagine, and I probably would have still had it in my top 10 at least, because I just loved. I mean, when I was a kid, Ninja Turtles were my number 1 before Batman. I'm sorry, they like I
Disconnect.
I know. It was, I was born in 86. The show started in like 87, I think. And I just grew up with Ninja Turtles every day. I mean, I found the 66 show for Batman and I found 89, but Ninja Turtles were just a constant in my childhood. And I never dreamed of seeing the two of them together. I mean, I don't, I don't remember if I was even like hesitant to play with them together, the toys and stuff, because like that would never happen. And now the fact that we're adults and we get to see Batman and the Ninja Turtles in comics together and in animation together, it's insane that we're living in a time where we can get that and get a great story. Like I love this movie. And you guys didn't touch on it when you talked about it. I think it was Andy and Andy. You spoke about it yet?
No,
Or...
no, I have not
Okay,
discussed
so
this film yet.
I'm sorry. So when Brendan and Eric were talking about it, they forgot to mention my favorite part of this whole movie is the credits. The end credits of this film,
Oh yeah.
intertwining the Batman covers and the Ninja Turtle covers and putting the two characters together. I could watch those credits all day. Love the credits of this film. And it's just such a blast. I have one little nitpick about this film. And it's weird to say this as an adult, but I hate the fact that the one time we get the two of them together, and this is because, and this is, it's not that I have a problem with it. I just hate that I can't put it on with my kids because, like, it's pretty violent. And I love it. Like, as a film for myself, I think it's great. But I wish that, like, I also, like, I would love for them to do a crossover with the animated series of Batman and the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles, like the comic did. I would love for them to do like a version of that too. So we have
Mhm.
like a kids version as well as
Oh
this version
yeah,
that we have. That would be
I'd
so
buy
much
that
fun.
for $1.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And I want a sequel tomorrow. I want more of this. I don't know if it's possible. It's been a while since we got this one. But yeah, I can't say enough about this. I mean, Brendan and Eric have already discussed it. We'll get a little bit more discussion on it later, perhaps. And but yeah, this is easily my top five. I I still just can't believe we even have this movie.
Well, why don't we get a little more discussion about it right now?
There we go.
Because it's
Oh,
also my
yes.
number 4.
Excellent.
It's so damn good. I think it was Brendan said it doesn't have any right to be this good. It's so good. And yeah, like there's this little purist part of my brain that goes, you shouldn't have it this high because it's not even a purely Batman movie. But
I
it's
know. I thought
so
the same thing.
but it's so good, I don't care. Like I love this movie. I don't think I have any nitpicks. My only nitpick about it is that we didn't get a sequel, which makes me mad because it's so good. I want at least a trilogy. This is another one where the book that it was based on was great. I loved the crossover books. I thought all of those were terrific. And it's one where they took bits and pieces from the comics and then still did their own thing, and it works. Watching the Ninja Turtles bounce off the Bat family is just pure entertainment. The animation is wonderful. All of the design work is outstanding. Everybody looks great in this. The Bat family looks great. The Turtles look great. Shredder looks great. The moment that is so weird that also probably shouldn't work, but I love it when the villains all mutate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they used that from the book because that was one of my favorite moments from the book. Even those designs are terrific. I love it. Yeah, it's so entertaining. It's wonderful. I have no complaints. I'm just mad because they set up a sequel that we still have yet to see. And yeah, I think this was 2017.
It's
Yeah, I think you're right.
2019.
2019. Okay. So it's only been 3 years. Maybe hope springs eternal. Maybe it could happen. But like you guys, Batman is my one true love. But I certainly had an affair with the Ninja Turtles on and off over the years, and so the fact that this happened is cool enough, and the fact that it's this good is just a bonus. This is one that I could put on any day of the week and just have a blast with it. So yeah, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is great. And I can't believe it's number 4, but I stand by it. It is that good.
Well, and to you guys' point, this could have gone very, very wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to the concept of, like you were saying, Andy, the villains turning into creatures. We've seen that very thing go very, very wrong. So, I'm so glad that they found a way to make this work and to make it wonderful. And
Yeah.
I mentioned on our portion of the ranking that this has a lot of sentimental value for me, and I just find it's so fun that it's within like 2 spots on all of our rankings. So that should say a lot.
Yeah. I'm so happy to see the love for this one because I think it's so well deserved.
Yeah, me too.
And it was our first episode together, Eric.
It was absolutely my start to podcasting.
There you go. You're welcome. I'm sorry.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, my friend.
Mostly great. Mostly great.
Good. Awesome. So yeah, I'm standing with Joe. Number 4, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's terrific. So Brendan, that leaves your number 4.
My number 4 is Batman Sub-Zero.
Oh, all right.
I know you guys have all spoken about it previously on the other episode, but I did say on that episode, like my top 10, there's Batman the Animated Series is my favorite version of Batman, so all three are in my top 10. And Sub-Zero is at number 4. Like, I love Heart of Ice, don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy that episode. But of the Batman the Animated Series, Mr. Freeze stuff, this is actually my favorite out of the times that they use Mr. Freeze. I love, we talked about it previously, I love the animation in this movie. There's just something, it looks so crisp and clean, and the way they use computer animation in the right way looks fantastic. I love sort of the homage to Batman 89 at the start with the way that it sort of goes through the bat symbol.
Mm.
And, you know, there were there were two movies in 1997 that starred Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Mr. Freeze. This should have been the one that was released theatrically. It's that good. It's a solid Mr. Freeze story. It's a great addition to, Batman the Animated Series and its legacy. The story is great. I mean, what else can I say? It's number 4 for a reason for me. I love this movie, and it's Mr. Freeze and polar bears. Like, what's not to like?
And those damn polar bears. Shout out to the polar bears again. Sorry, just real quick. Did this come out in 97 in Australia? Because it was supposed to come out in 97 here as a cross promotion with Batman and Robin, but then it got delayed and actually didn't come out till 1998.
Oh, okay. That's my mistake. To be honest, I didn't see it released here in Australia until 99.
Okay.
I just thought it was 97 because I
It
remember
was supposed to be, yeah.
I remember even in the Batman and Robin comic adaptation, there was an advert for this. That was the first time I'd heard of it. There was an advert for this coming out. I didn't realize it got delayed to 98, so my bad. But I still stand by it. It should have been released theatrically.
I'm with you. I mean, it's like we talked about. Yeah, I think the rest of us have all talked about this one, and it was my number 6. It just missed my top 5, and I think that it's a great movie. The only reason I think it's not talked about more is because of a little movie called Mask of the Phantasm. Mm-hmm. But I think this stands toe to toe with it, and I think it deserves a little more love because it's terrific. And as we talked about, the animation is stunning.
I'm not taking away from Mask of the Phantasm here because it is phenomenal. But depending on the day you ask me, like if I've got both of those on the shelf staring me in the face, I might go for Sub-Zero over Mask of the Phantasm sometimes.
Yeah. I feel you. Do you want a taco or a burrito? I don't care. I like them both. Just depends on the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even I have it, the lowest on anyone's list. I think I had it at 11, but I agree with that. Like, there are days where I would probably say, you know what? I feel like watching a Batman animated series movie. I feel like watching Sub-Zero. And I just have it lower because I think Mask of the Phantasm is better. And that's just kind of how I compiled my list. But that's not taking away from this movie because I think it's beautiful. And if I remember correctly, did they even I feel like they held back even on the marketing after what happened with Batman
after
and Robin.
Batman and Robin underperformed, they delayed the movie and then they kind of unceremoniously dropped it. Not completely, because I still remember seeing ads for it and stuff, but they did not make as big a deal out of it.
Yeah, I feel like this is one I just stumbled across. Like, it was at the the video rental in my local town. It was just a local shop. I was like there and I saw it on the shelf to rent and I was like, what is this? I didn't know about this, and that's how I found it.
Yeah. And I remember I was anxiously awaiting it because I remember seeing all the ads for it on my Batman the Animated Series VHS tapes. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm waiting for it. And then I do remember going, when is this thing coming out? I really want to get it. And so I was chomping at the bit, but yeah, it was strange how it got delayed. And then they did not push it as much as I think they would have had Batman and Robin done better. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like what me and Michael Lyons always say about Jaws and Jaws 2. Jaws 2 is a great movie. The only problem with Jaws 2 is that it had to follow Jaws.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sub-Zero is a great movie. Its only problem is it had to follow Mask of the Phantasm.
Sub-Zero has a killer logo too, by the way.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So yeah, I can't add very much more than what we've already said, but it is a phenomenal movie. And I agree with you guys. I mean, Mask spoilers, Mask is higher, but Sub-Zero could be the movie I pick over it some days. So I'm right there with you guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, on to number 3. Eric?
Well, let's continue talking about Mask of the Phantasm because my number 3 is Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Interesting.
Whoa.
I like it.
Hot
I like a good
takes.
curveball.
Yeah, I'll talk about why the other two are higher later, but this movie, just to shower it with accolades. I mean, I think this movie is wonderful. I think this is what a lot of live action Batman movies should strive to be. It hits all the Batman notes just right. It's got a compelling mystery. It has a love story, which there were no shortage of with Batman in the animated series, and just I don't know. It hit at the right time, I think, with the craze of Batman the animated series, and just took it full advantage of it. And I actually today I had watched this video before, but I went back and I watched the Siskel and Ebert review on YouTube. So they got to this way late. They actually watched this in '95 when Batman Forever was in the theaters.
Huh.
And Siskel and Ebert were not very nice to the Burton or Schumacher films. Schumacher, obviously not, but Siskel said this was the best Batman movie he had seen up until that point. I mean, this was the Batman movie that he thought nailed it. And honestly, I love those live action Batman films, but I can't argue with him. I mean, they did such a wonderful job with this story. And once again, the Joker with Mark Hamill was just having a blast in this film. The animation's beautiful. I could go on and on and on, but yeah, this is an all timer for sure with Batman animated films or Batman films. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if I jump in because it's also my number 3?
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the movie, everything that Eric just said, I can't really add to it. It's just this movie has a funny spot for me, in my childhood because it never got a theatrical release here in Australia. Um, I remember seeing print ads for it in the Batman Adventures comics, and I remember getting the comic adaptation in 93, early 94, late 93. I just There was this Batman movie out there based on the cartoons and the comics I was reading, and it was like the white whale for me because I had no way, it was 1994. I had no way of accessing this movie that I knew existed. And one day, like just before Christmas, 94, there was one single copy of it in the bottom corner of the new release wall of my local video store. And I just about passed out with excitement that holy shit, this thing actually exists. Like, oh my God. And, I rented it so many times that like Christmas, summer holidays here in Australia, to the point that for my birthday, which is, early February 95, my parents actually got a friend to dub that rented video because you couldn't buy it, to dub that rented video for me as part of my birthday present because so I could actually physically own it, because there was no other way to get it. You couldn't buy it and they couldn't rent it every other week. So yeah, I love Mask of the Phantasm. It is, yeah, like I can't argue. Like it is what a lot of live action Batman movies want to be or should be. Um, it it's so sad that it didn't get more love on the big screen, that it was just kind of dumped and not really promoted, and that it didn't get a global release. Like it was in between Batman Returns and Batman Forever, and Batman was still very popular at the time. I
Well,
I do. Yeah, go
Correct
ahead.
me if I'm wrong. It came out Christmas Day here, right?
Christmas Day, yeah,
Yes.
1993. And that's what's the most bizarre thing is that when they and they talked about this at length is when they started production on Mask of the Phantasm, it was meant to go straight to video.
Hmm.
And then they were already in production and then they were told, "You know what? We're going to release it theatrically." And so it was pretty much already done. And so then they ended up having to crop the frame to make it widescreen. So it's the rare film where you get less of the movie when you watch the widescreen version
Mhm.
because they literally had to crop it. And then they tacked on the CG opening credit sequence to try and make it feel more cinematic. And they got this curveball late in the game of no, we're going to release it theatrically because we think there's an opportunity. Great. But then the studio doesn't promote it and then
Promote
dumps
it.
it on Christmas Day.
And they rushed them to hit the release date, didn't
Yeah,
they?
which is like, well, then
Yeah.
why'd you even bother if that's all you were gonna do? It's crazy to me. And it was gone. It was gone from theaters in a week. It was insane. But I do remember distinctly coming up to Christmas of '93. WB, they said what they wanted to do was they wanted to have a Batman movie every year.
Mm.
They wanted a live action movie one year and then an animated movie the following year and then repeat, which sounds really fun, especially as a Batman fan. But this was that attempt to make that happen. And then they dumped it. Nobody went. And that plan went out the window.
Well, at
So
least we still
sad.
get animated films pretty regularly.
We do now.
We
Yes.
get
We-
them like
yeah.
Yeah.
up the wazoo these days, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's such a good Batman movie. I do wonder if, and because Batman Forever hit and hit big, if this had have been in the works just a little bit later, if it had have been promoted to theatrical and it would have got more of a, more of a push, would have been interesting, but sadly wasn't to be.
I don't think, but I don't think it has to do with its proximity to other movies. I think it's the fact that because Batman was a huge deal in 1993, like
Mm,
the series was highly rated. Millions of kids watched it. They were selling toys like crazy. Like there was no reason this couldn't have hit. They just didn't promote it, and then frankly just didn't invest in it.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy, weird. But that's not to speak of the quality of the movie. It's just the
Oh,
more
hell
the
no.
what if had they committed to it.
For sure.
That's interesting that two of you have it as number 3.
Yeah, I actually
I
find
didn't see
that
that coming.
controversial.
Yeah, it is a little
I
controversial. It
I
is.
expected it too, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what the other one is that you guys have in your top 2 because I can't think of it for some reason.
That's the fun of rankings, there, right?
I've
It
lost
is.
track of which one.
And because there's 25 of them, yeah, it's hard to keep track.
I know. I'm literally going down the list and going, what the heck did these guys not talk about?
And both of you, like, it's not that I don't know one of yours. I really
Yeah.
don't know. I definitely lost track of which one you guys have placed higher than I expected.
Yeah, me too. Same. Weird. Well, that'll be fun. Okay. Well, Joe, you're number 3. You haven't shared.
My number 3 is. I have to bring it back up now. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Okay.
I mean, we've pretty much said everything about this. This is as good of a straight adaptation I feel as they've done because it's they didn't take liberties with this one. They changed it up to make it fit in a film. So they took what worked best in the book and then they made it translate really well. And they weren't afraid to take liberties to an extent, unlike something like Year One, where it was just book to screen, here it is. This one, I think, like you said earlier, Andy, they took the best elements of the book and made it a movie. And to me, it's funny because I like the book. I don't want to say I don't love it, but I think the movie made me appreciate the book even more because the book is a tough read. It's really dense, and the movie kind of streamlines all that to the point where when I went back and read the book, I actually had forgotten what they did remove from the book. And I've come to just kind of prefer putting in the movie and really enjoy it. And I don't mean that to slight the book, but I just think the movie is great. I think it's a perfect length for the two-parter. The deluxe I think clocks in at, that perfect like 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like that. And yeah, I just I really love this one. This is definitely one that I watch more than uh this is it's just up there even for the length. I mean, it's a longer animated movie, but I think I put this up there with some of the best live action ones, which I think I all my top 5 are that way to an extent.
Mhm.
But this could have been a live action film the way it's adapted.
Yeah. Has Brendan talked about this one yet? I don't think he
The
has.
Dark
Maybe
Knight
he
Returns?
hasn't.
I don't
And
think he has either.
I don't think he
Oh,
has.
then that surprised me. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
Shocking.
Then I still have no idea what the hell Eric
Scandalous.
Deception.
Interesting.
I've been sitting here not saying anything.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that leaves me with my number 3. My number 3 is Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Wow.
I knew you loved it.
I
Yeah.
really love it. It's like the perfect Saturday morning cartoon as a movie. It's like I
Yeah.
couldn't ask for a more and here's the thing, I'm not even that big a Scooby-Doo fan. I mean, I like him. We all like Scooby-Doo to a certain extent, but this just works. I love The Brave and the Bold. And this movie, it's just pure happiness. And it's one that ever since it came out, whenever it comes up, whenever we mention it, I just smile because it's one that makes me so happy. It's so funny. It's so clever. Tonally, Scooby-Doo and that version of Batman work well together. As I love most things with Batman, I get happier the more it incorporates the Rogues Gallery in Batman's world. And this does that. And you would think it would do it less because it has to share it with Scooby-Doo. But it's so smart in the way it combines the two. And I think it's a stroke of genius in the end when the Scooby-Doo gang all suits up as the Bat family. Like that was something I did not see coming, but I thought was so clever and fun. And I was like, oh, of course that's how this needs to end. That's the best way for it to end. Yeah, it's just a perfect like bowl of Saturday morning cereal in a movie. And it's joyous and it's wonderful and it is family friendly. And these two things just went together so seamlessly. It's one that I put on a lot because it makes me so happy. So when I'm looking at it and I do the whole, oh, which one would I watch or which one do I revisit the most or which one do I want to revisit the most? This one always comes to the top of the list. And I think it is because, yeah, it's just a joyous movie. And much like with Ninja Turtles, I'm like, oh, should this be this high? Because it also has Scooby-Doo in it. But no, as far as just pure entertainment, pure enjoyment, it's number 3 for me.
I can't remember any. Have we done an episode on that? Did we do
I
one
ass-
around the time it
I
came out?
assumed we did, but dude, I can't remember.
Yeah.
You
I'd
had
have
to
to.
have, because I knew you loved it. Like, I had to have heard
Yeah.
you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like whenever it comes up in conversation, I always go, "Oh man, I love that one."
Well,
I would have to check, but I think that was it. Oh my god, what year was that? 2017?
2017, yeah.
2017? No, 2018.
Oh, was it? Okay.
You did
2018.
cover
So
it.
I would have to check, but I would assume we did a review episode. I feel like we
I
would have
just know
had
because
to.
we're behind with some of them, and I just
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that one didn't slip through the cracks. Because I mean, going through this list, there's so many that I'm like, I really need to rewatch that. I really need to rewatch that. But the problem is, they come out so often these days. They keep adding to them. It's
Yeah,
like, my god,
exactly.
Yeah, this list is going to be
terrible
very
problem
obsolete
to have. But
very soon.
So you covered it on January 21st of 2018. It
Look at
doesn't say-
that.
It
Look at
doesn't say
that.
the episode number, but yes, you did.
So it's very much like like you said, it's very much like the Turtles movie where it's like two IP that are an interesting mixture, but when you see it, they just do it so well that it works and it's so fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny though that the Scooby-Doo one and the Turtles one came out in 18 and 19,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
they must have been in a crossover kick at the time.
And much like Turtles, my complaint is we didn't get another one. And I wish we
Exactly.
would. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, it's
Agreed.
also one where like I feel like as soon as Harley's old enough, that's going to be one of the first ones I watch with her.
It's such a good introduction point for Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why that one's on a lot in my house, just because it's an easy one to put on in the background. I don't have to worry about anything being like, a little bit violent where my daughter gets all sensitive and thinks someone has a boo-boo and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I know I was kind of shocked it was as high as it was too, but I don't regret it.
Well,
All right. Number 2, Eric Carter.
I was about to say, so far as being shocked at where one is, you guys might be thrown for a loop with this one because my number 2 Batman animated film is Batman: The Long Halloween.
Oh,
And
you didn't talk. Oh,
I
God.
did not realize you
No.
didn't talk about this.
Me
yet.
either. I thought you had, but okay.
And I know it's recent, and I know there's that tendency to recency bias or, the new shiny toy, but I had a lot of doubts about this one going in. We had not that long before come off of Batman Hush, and we've all talked about, the misgivings and the mistakes they made with that one. I was scared they may do that again. And when this one, and also Jensen Ackles, I will say, I love Jensen Ackles. I think he's great. But I had a fear that we were going to hear Jason Todd doing Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And when this movie came out in the 2-part, like when the first part came out, I could not wait to get the second part when I saw the first one. And it's one of those where the second part to me was not quite as good as the first part, but the two together are a movie that I absolutely love. I love that they switched up a major incident right in the middle of the movie that made you go, well, that throws the book out the window. Where are they going? Because now I'm hooked and I want to know because this has changed the formula. And I thought they just did an excellent job with that. The only thing that kept this movie from taking my number 1 spot was my biggest nitpick of the movie. I am really bothered by the sequence between um, Gilda and Batman at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
When he just, okay, you're done being bad, we'll let this one
We're
go.
all good. We're all good. Yeah.
That is the only part of that movie that keeps me from having this as my number 1 Batman movie or animated Batman movie.
Wow.
So yeah, I was blown away by this one. I was surprised at how much I loved it, and it's one that I can't wait to revisit again. So yeah.
All right. Nice. Okay. This I'm curious about. Joe, what your number 2 is?
So I'm going to be the first one to bring this one up. It's Batman Under the Red Hood.
Okay.
I I remember anticipating this movie when it came out. I was so excited to see this movie. I didn't know what to expect because it was really one of the first ones we got. This was pretty early on, wasn't it?
2010.
Yeah, it was early-ish.
Yeah, like as far as the animated films go, I mean, this was prior to Year One and prior to Dark Knight Returns. This was
Actually, aside from Gotham Knight, was this the first solo Batman one?
I think it was.
I think it is.
I mean, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and Apocalypse were prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Apocalypse came out right after this, they were both 2010. But yeah, like I just remember being so excited. I remember we got the cover reveal, and we got all the stuff. I did not, and this is gonna sound weird. I didn't learn about the whole Jason Todd thing until way late in life. Like I didn't follow that when I was a kid. So I didn't really know much about the death of Robin, and I especially didn't know about Red Hood. So I learned about that maybe around like 2006, 2007. So I was pretty new to the whole realm of Batman having multiple Robins and all the stuff behind that, and getting into the comics that way. But this movie, it blew me away. The emotion in this movie, the way they take a storyline and they've really combined two storylines, streamline it perfectly. Still around that 75-minute mark. This is before they were going closer to the 90-minute. Um, the emotion in this movie with Jason, they made Jason so sympathetic in this movie, better than they did in the comics prior to his death. They just the way that they just quickly tell you how he dies in like the first 5 minutes, and then you go right to present time, and let's be honest, like they're not even hiding the fact that this is going to be Jason. They're telegraphing it. Even if you don't know anything about this story, it's okay if you know the mystery, because the way they tell the story is so good that you don't care. You're just trying to figure out how it happens and what's the deal going on. And I just and the Joker in this movie, I don't think we say enough about um John
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio. John DiMaggio as Joker. I wish he had come back and played the Joker again, because he was
So
so
do
good.
I.
And I know everyone loves Mark Hamill and everyone loves Kevin Conroy, but I'm to the point now where if we get married to them so much, we're never going to have movies like this where you get Bruce Greenwood and John DiMaggio come in and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And
And Greenwood is such a great Batman voice. I feel
he
like we don't
is,
talk about him enough.
yeah, the fact that they actually asked him to come back for Young Justice was so cool.
Yeah.
And just that, I think for these types of movies, I prefer to get different actors. I think Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are perfect for the animated series stuff and for even the Arkham games. But when you take them out of that, to me, it's almost distracting at this point, because I can't differentiate between the animated series and whatever I'm watching at that point. I think that's why The Killing Joke didn't really work for me with their voices.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's fair.
I love that we got, DiMaggio and Greenwood, and then, you know like Eric said, Jensen Ackles as uh Red Hood does such a good job. I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to want to talk about this. I'm going to, stop now before I, say too much, but I absolutely love this movie. It's hard for me to not have this at number 1, but I mean, I just like number 1 a little bit more. But yeah, I could watch this movie every day.
Awesome. I think
We'll
we're
talk
going to move
soon.
forward. Yeah. um, so, Brendan, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Dark Knight Returns.
There we
Hey.
are.
There you go. This is just for Jamie.
Look, I can honestly say, I mean, just with my age and stuff, like I was around, but I wasn't part of, the whole Dark Knight Returns thing when it hit. It was 86, wasn't it? Like I was 2 years old. Like,
Yeah.
and I first read it when I came back into the world of Batman and comics in 2005, and like I'd heard that this was this big, big deal of a book, and it influenced so much and everything else, and I read it, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really like the art. It was I think it was Joe that was saying it. It's such a dense read. Like, it's not an easy read at all. I just didn't quite get it, to be perfectly honest. And then when this movie came out, I got it. It clicked. I could watch this movie any day of the week, but I own the graphic novel because it's one of those ones that like every Batman fan should just own it. But I don't think I've touched it since this movie came out. This movie is what made me appreciate that version of Batman and go, you know what, this is actually really friggin' awesome. It just doesn't work for me on the page, but Jesus Christ, it works on the screen. Voice cast is fantastic. The look of the film is great. I really wish that movie had come out at, well, those two parts had come out at a time where they don't do it anymore, but if it had come out of that period where they were putting them on the big screen,
Mhm.
because that would have been amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
But look, it made me appreciate what is a gold standard in Batman storytelling. And I just looking at when I was doing it the other day, like I was sort of looking at Phantasm and looking at Dark Knight Returns, and again I had to do that whole like, okay, they're both in front of me, I've got a couple of hours to kill, what am I going to grab? And I think I'm going to grab Dark Knight Returns. I really really enjoy that movie.
I
All
think
right.
that's fantastic that they did just enough different to make somebody who didn't even really like the story engage and
Mhm.
love the story through a different lens. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and we talked about it being faithful, and I think it is, but you're right. Like the book is a dense read. That's a great way of putting it. And I think they streamline just enough to make it just a little more palatable, and it goes down a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that we did discuss this in the first part on The Fire Rises. Like, I love Year One as a graphic novel. I love that graphic novel, but I had the movie ranked quite low because it's literally just a panel for panel thing, and it just, to me, it doesn't work. Like, it's kind of boring because of that reason. Whereas this, it tells the story. It doesn't really stray from the narrative of the story like something like a Hush or a Gotham by Gaslight does.
Mhm.
But it just streamlines it enough, and
Yeah.
and tweaks it enough to go, no, this is really bloody good.
Mhm.
Because they weren't afraid to take things out that might not work, or rearrange some things just to make it work better for the film. And Brendan, to your point about not being crazy about the book, I went back and read the book after seeing the movie, and I think it makes the book like I'm with you. I didn't quote unquote get it when I first read the book, years ago. But after watching the movie, I kind of went back and was able to like maybe take my time with it more and appreciate everything that's in the book that's not in the film.
I think I've read the comic once since the movie's come out, because I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm going to revisit the comic now that I've got this in my head. And I just kind of found myself reading it there going, I'd rather watch the movie.
Yeah.
I'd rather, see it moving in front of me than sitting here
Hmm.
reading it. So anyway, and
Well,
it must be said too, it is, of all the adaptations that we have discussed previously, this is the best.
yeah,
Well,
I agree,
not
and I
not
would.
quite the best, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. And just to add this one thing, I'm so happy we're all showering love on this, and I just want to add that Jamie, I hope you're enjoying driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, yeah. Time well spent. I mean, Bruce is pretty old when he's driving at the beginning of this book and in this movie. So there's something in there where, old person car, I don't know.
Yeah,
Alfred
yeah,
played by Morgan Freeman, I don't know. No, yeah, it is. It's exactly what you want for the adaptation of this story, and I think it nails it. Like, this is one of those where it's like, oh, it's an iconic, legendary story. You'd better deliver on the movie, and it does it. And like, we've seen that not always happen with some of these animated versions.
Mm.
mhm,
This, I think, is one of the gold standards.
yes,
All right. So we talked to everybody's number two,
Except you.
except me.
And this is the moment
My,
of truth.
I know, I know. Those who know me well know what this is going to be. My number two is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm,
Mm.
and
that seals it.
this is one where like it's so hard because
So I'm
like
on the outside looking in here, huh?
yeah, it's so I mean, but like it could so easily go the other way. But like again, going by if I've got them sitting in front of me, which one would I rather watch? But Mask of the Phantasm is a great movie. I love this movie. You guys already discussed it. I think that it is such a shame that it got so buried when it was initially released, and I am so happy that over the years it has been embraced and celebrated for the great Batman story and the great Batman movie that it is. I remember, I mean, I didn't even see it in the theater in 1993 because it was gone immediately, but I remember getting that VHS tape, and the VHS tape had the comic adaptation in the cover with the tape. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever get the VHS? And I watched that thing constantly, and it's just a great Batman story. And I think that it took a lot of guts for the team to say, "Oh, we're going to do an animated movie based on the series," to do something this different. And I think this stepping away from what the show is and introducing a new character and diving into Bruce's life himself and the path not taken and the one that got away, and weaving that all together with still a Batman story while shining the light on his origins. And there's a lot of great emotion in here. There's a lot of romance. I remember, I think it was Paul Dini talking about it, of when he pitched it, then being like, wait, what, why are you pitching a Batman love story? But it works and it's beautiful. And still then bringing in that wild card of the Joker at just the right moment in the movie to really, give it that extra jolt of energy, and the way the Joker and the Phantasm and Batman all come together. Man, just a great movie, a great story. The only reason I think it's not number one, and I alluded to this in The Fire Rises, and I've alluded to it in the past, and it's my only real complaint about the movie, and it's nobody's fault other than the fact that they thought they were making it straight to video. And so for me, the animation, it looks like the show. And the animation of the show is great, but to me, it just doesn't look like it was elevated to be a theatrical movie.
Whereas Sub-Zero does.
What Sub-Zero does. Exactly. That's the only thing even slightly negative I can say about the movie, is that the animation looks consistent with the show. It doesn't look like they had more money to spend to improve the animation. That aside, just a wonderful story, a terrific movie, a great Batman movie, one that I have revisited countless times. I don't know if I should tell this story, but it shows where my prey. It's a weird story. So without going into too much detail, when I was a teenager, I moved out of my mother's house in the middle of the night, and I moved in with my dad. It was like this, it's a whole personal thing. But it was not a good situation with my mother. So in the middle of the night, I moved out, and I was able to go back and get my stuff at a certain point. But I didn't get my VHS copy of Mask of the Phantasm. And I was so upset that I didn't get it, because at this point, this would have been 1995. So it's not as easy to just run out and get a new one. And I was so upset, where I was like, shit, I didn't get my copy of Mask of the Phantasm. This is where my head was at, where I was like, crap, I didn't get it. So then, years later, how many times have I rebought this movie? Pretty much every time it's been available. But I just love that there was this really dramatic personal family issue going on, where I moved out of my mom's house and in with my dad. And my priority was damn it, I really wish I'd have grabbed the tape of Mask of the Phantasm. But that's how much I love this movie, is the point. So yeah, it's one of the best Batman movies, animated or otherwise. And I think that most Batman fans can agree to that. So again, it's crazy that it's 2, but it's barely 2. It's amazing. And I love it.
Well, that's a great story about your, missing it that much, because man, I can't imagine leaving something that valuable behind, valuable to us as Batman fans.
Well, and again, because that was before anything was digital. That was if you don't have it, who knows how you'll get it, that kind of thing. Remember how tough it was to find certain things after a year or so.
I had to have a dubbed copy just to own it here in Australia.
Exactly. We didn't know how readily available everything would eventually become. So in the moment, I was like, shit, now I'm never going to get to see it again.
Well, that was very much in the era of the Disney locking things in the vault and that kind of thing.
But yeah, and again, this at the time was a flop movie, so it's not like WB was going to keep releasing new versions of it or anything,
right. And I would like to add the release, and I don't know if they had released it before this or not, but when they made it an addition to the Batman the Animated Series Blu-ray set, it looks phenomenal. I mean, the HD upgrade that they did for that movie looks. I mean, the whole set looks great, but that movie looks really, really good,
Yeah.
remastered.
Yeah. Oh, I
Actually,
bought the Blu-ray solo set, like, or not solo set. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean? Like
was
when
on
they released
the Warner Archive.
Warner Archive,
Right.
exactly. I bought it that way,
Mm.
and yeah, it does look really good. And then yeah, they put it in with the show anyway. So even now, I have multiple copies on my shelf.
I don't know if I told this story on Holy BatCast or not, but back in 2020, sort of when lockdowns had just started to ease, they were doing crazy discounts on, accommodation at, like, say the Gold Coast here in Australia, like just holiday destinations to get people in again. And there was this really, really nice hotel that we would have ordinarily not been able to afford, but we got it on a hell of a price and stayed a couple of nights there in 2020. And it had its own cinema that you could rent out. Like, it didn't cost anything, but you could book sessions in the cinema. Um, I booked a couple of sessions, and one of those sessions, you better believe I took Mask of the Phantasm, because like I said, it never got released to the cinemas here. I never got to see it on the big screen until 2020, when I sat in a theater with just me and Jess and watched Mask of the Phantasm on the big screen, and it looked awesome.
That's
That's cool.
awesome.
That's
Did
really
you get a
cool.
handy?
I we think that might have been when Henry was conceived, actually. That
What?
that couple of nights.
Yeah, it was a good night.
Not that night, not in the cinema, but just
Oh,
that time away at the coast. Do we think that
yeah.
Oh
might
boy.
have quite been the,
There
the
was
the timeline adds up. Let's just put it that way.
okay, all right, great.
You,
It was a
you
hell of a
should
trip.
you shouldn't have
Um,
made the detraction. It was it's much more interesting the other way, Brendan.
a few years ago, they did. There's a theater in Hollywood called the Egyptian, and it is the coolest theater. And they always, I think they pretty much only do screenings of old movies. So on our recent Batman Returns episode, where we talked about, one of my first dates with Catherine was we went and saw a double feature of Batman Returns and Gremlins in December, and it was amazing. But a few years prior to that, they actually did a double feature of Batman the movie from 1966 and then Mask of the Phantasm. And you better believe I had to go, because not only, I mean, those were two movies I had never seen on the big screen. I got to see them both in the same night. So it was
That's
amazing.
awesome.
I have never seen it on the big screen, so I am jealous.
Yeah, I saw it when it released. I saw it that Christmas break or whatever
Well,
it
good
was.
for you. I, to get in there when you could, because yeah, Christmas Day, man. Like if you didn't go, I'm kind of busy. So, all right. Well, that's my number two, Mask of the Phantasm. So it's time for number ones. But I think Joe, you should go first, so you can
Yeah.
just keep the Mask of the
Yeah, I'll
Phantasm.
keep it going.
Yeah, keep it rolling.
So yeah, obviously this is my number one. I watched this movie so much as a kid. So this came in the clamshell case, did it not?
Yeah, it did.
Well, the clamshell case got so wrecked that my dad had to buy me like a generic plastic case, and he took the label off the clamshell case and cut it to fit this plastic case. It was terrible because it wouldn't fit right because the clamshell cases are huge and the standard plastic ones are a little smaller. And I just always remember that's how I had to have the case. I lost that clamshell case pretty quickly, and
At least
I
yours had a
watched.
case. Mine was like just a generic cardboard slipcase.
Yeah,
Well,
I
and that's why I remember the clamshell, is because the plastic on it was permanently bowed out because they had slipped the comic book in there and it stretched out the
Mhm.
plastic on the clamshell.
and funny, I don't remember the comic book. I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
There's that great red cover, which I have in a T-shirt now.
Yeah, and I have like a newer adaptation of the comic. I think I got in like a Comic-Con years ago, but I just this movie actually, as much as I loved it as a kid, as an adult, it hits me more now. I
Yeah.
mean, the emotion of the love story. I mean, as a kid, you don't care about the love story. Let's be honest. I was, 7 years old. I didn't care about Andrea Beaumont. But when you watch it as an adult, and I mean, there's no secret the cemetery scene is what most people go to with this film, of the emotion of Bruce pleading to his parents that he didn't expect to be happy. I I can't get
Ugh.
over that scene. I don't think I'll ever get over that scene. And this was a kids movie, and it has more emotion in it, in my opinion, than any Batman movie we've ever gotten.
Hmm.
Um, and to put a love story in a kid movie that doesn't detract from the fun of the film, and kids can still watch it and appreciate it, but when you get to be an adult and can really just dive into the whole story, you're getting every little bit of character development, and the love story with her, and the what made him become Batman, and the tragic backstory of what is becoming his villain. And it's funny because I'll put this on all the time, and my wife will come in one day and she goes, why do you watch this one so much? And I honestly don't really have an answer other than the fact that I just love it. Like, this is the perfect Batman movie to me. There's still, live action or not, there still hasn't been a Batman movie that has topped this for me. This is perfect. And I can't say enough good things about it. I will always love this movie. I'm waiting for the day that we get a live action film that beats it, but in my opinion, we still haven't gotten it.
Well, it's funny you were talking about the romance and how it hits differently. It's so true, but I think one of the things I've always loved about this movie is how bittersweet the ending is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm a sucker for a bittersweet ending, but man, the ending of this movie is so tragic, of Bruce alone in the cave and he finds that locket, right?
Yeah,
And then Andrea on the boat, and that man goes, "Do you want to be alone?" And she says, "I am."
yeah.
It's, oh my
Ugh.
god, like like, what a downer of an ending, but I love it because it hits you, in the way it should. It's just fantastic, and again, a big risk to do that with this Batman animated movie. And something I forgot to say is Brendan gave a shout out to the banger song in Mystery of the
Oh
Batwoman.
yeah, this
I'm
song,
giving a shout out to Tia
absolutely.
Carrere. I never even told you. I know a lot of people don't like it. I like it. Again, because it's just so sad, and I like it for that reason.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
There's a reason
that's
it was within the top 3 of what all of us.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm almost. I'm a little disappointed. I expected it to be 2 for some of you. I did not expect it to be 3.
I did not either. I feel like the top two slots are pretty consistent amongst Batman fandom.
Yeah,
Mm.
So y'all just threw us for a loop, but
and the
that's
fact that
okay.
I'm the only one that has it at 1
I
really surprised me.
know. I didn't expect that. Like, I knew Brendan and I would have the same number one, but I did
I
not know
almost
about
feel
you guys.
cliche for putting it as number 1.
That's okay.
You
That's
know,
okay. Someone needed to, and I'm
I'm the
glad you did.
conformist here,
Yeah,
apparently.
there you go. All right. Well, then it sounds like the rest of us all have the same number one. So, Eric, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, my number one, and I feel like if your number one isn't Mask of the Phantasm, it's probably this one, and it's Batman Under the Red Hood. Um, this movie is just what Joe said about Phantasm is the way I feel about this one. This is just perfection in a Batman movie to me. I mean, there's so much that explains, the angst that is Batman and the pain that his career goes through. And it seems like it never stops, but he's always moving forward. And that's why we love Batman. But I mean, just the performances in this movie from Bruce Greenwood, which I think he's probably the second best Batman voice that there ever has been. And then Jensen Ackles as Jason Todd. It's just the emotion, the raw emotion that those two bounce off of each other in their scenes together. And then you add DiMaggio, as you guys have already kind of discussed. And yeah, I think DiMaggio is such an underrated Joker. And this story just it's that I think the phrase better than it had any right to be is at times a little overused, but with this one, it fits because the book is nowhere near as good as this movie is.
It's the same
This take
writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
which is
love that
crazy,
he
isn't
came
it?
back and did this. Yeah, like
But
he actually says he did what he wanted to do with the book, but couldn't because of Infinite Crisis. He was kind of like bottled down by Infinite Crisis when they were doing the book.
hmm.
Hmm.
Well, and that happens sometimes. I mean, if you look at Garth Ennis with The Boys, I mean, to me, the show is way better than the book, but that's another topic. But here, I think they absolutely take the source material and just elevate it to a whole nother level. And it's absolutely it's not just my favorite Batman animated film. It is one of my very favorite Batman films, period, of all time.
Yeah. Look, we've talked about well, you guys have talked about the voice cast a lot. None of you have mentioned NPH as
Oh, it's
Nightwing.
great.
Oh, he's
He's
Great.
wonderful,
so
Nightwing.
good. But like when it comes to Batman and Joker voices, like I feel like Conroy and Hamill, they're kind of on their own level.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're in the stratosphere. They're the all timers, never to be topped. You know. So when I say, I mean they're obviously the best and everyone's favorite. But Greenwood and DiMaggio to me, like they're my favorites, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, I kind of put the other two on a completely different level, but though DiMaggio and Greenwood are fantastic. Like I'm just hoping that one day we get those two in a movie again. Um, I'm not counting um, Death in the Family because that was,
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that was. That was an experiment that just didn't work. But I would love for them to come back and do a standalone Batman movie again.
Mm-hmm.
And but this one, I'm not kidding. When I first saw this movie, I watched it. I was by myself, and Jess came home from work. I mean, I was still living at my parents' house at the time, and she'd finished work and staying the night. And I'd finished maybe watching it like, I don't know, 40 minutes, an hour tops before she got there. And I was just like, you need to watch this movie. Like the only reason I didn't hit play on it again straight away is because I knew she was going to be home before it would be finished again. So I waited. The next day, my best mate came around to visit. I'm like, you need to watch this movie. Like I watched it 3 times in under 24 hours. It just worked. I love it. The animation is great. Like I said, the voice cast is fantastic. What they were able to do to the story, because the Under the Red Hood storyline was, I think it was either happening or just wrapping up when I jumped back into monthly comics in 2005. So I was familiar enough with the story. Um, what they took out definitely didn't need to be there. It's Black Mask in this is fantastic as the comic relief.
Mm.
It's my favorite version of Black Mask. It's such a damn good. There's a reason it's number one. I mean, and yes, there's obviously the sentimental. It was the first time I was ever on Holy BatCast. But taking that out of it, that doesn't really factor into how good the movie is, and the movie definitely deserves to be number one. And it's amazing. We've said a few times that you know how we're spoilt for choice these days. That we get at least 4 or sometimes more of these movies every single year, and this one has had the top spot for me for 12 years, and it hasn't been challenged yet. And that says a hell of a lot for how good this movie is. So it'll be interesting to see if it ever gets topped. I hope that it does, because that means there's a friggin' phenomenal Batman movie out there waiting to be made. And bring it on. I'm never going to say no to that. But until that day comes, this is firmly in my number one spot.
All right. I don't know what more I can say. I will just say this. I am one of those Batman fans that truly believes Jason Todd should have stayed dead.
Hmm.
I never thought he should have been brought back. I still don't think he should have been brought back to
Mhm.
this day. I think he is most useful when he is dead, when he is a lesson learned that haunts Batman. So it better be a pretty damn good movie that makes me be okay with Jason Todd coming back to life. And the fact that this movie is my favorite Batman animated movie, and it's about Jason Todd coming back to life, it better be a freaking great movie. And it is. It's fantastic. It's so much better than I would have expected when I realized it was coming out. I've still never read the comic. I don't even feel the need. I'm like, no, I've got the movie. The movie's great. The movie scratches that itch. I'm happy with it. As you guys, I mean, you guys hit all the points. Amazing voice cast, amazing performances all around. Jensen Ackles gives a heartbreaking and wonderful performance as the Red Hood. The animation is terrific. The animation is exciting. The fights and action are really good. But what makes all these movies truly great is the emotion underneath. And this story of Batman having to confront his biggest mistake or his biggest regret, and it coming back not only to haunt him but the people he cares about, and then him having to come face to face with it and explain himself. Oh my god. I mean, that final conversation between Batman and Jason is
in
one
the
of my
bathroom.
favorite it's one of my favorite Batman moments.
Yep.
It's amazing. Like you guys said, I mean, I think most people agree John DiMaggio was amazing as the Joker, but so many people have done the Joker, and so many people have done him brilliantly. It's so hard to take the gig and go, I need to do something new. And John DiMaggio found a way to do something very new, but very Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And it just works. And he is a scary, terrifying SOB of a Joker. And I love him for it, you know? And yeah, like you guys said, Greenwood, I think he's one of my favorite Batman voices. This is a great movie. It works in all the ways you want it to. It works as a Batman movie. It is exciting and fun. There's a mystery that's not really a mystery, like you were saying earlier, Joe, about how they don't hide who it's going to be. And you shouldn't. If we know what it's going to be, you need to embrace it and make that part of the story. And I think they do that here. Is we as the audience, we know it's got to be Jason, but to watch Nightwing and Batman put that together and realize what's happening is part of what makes the story work. So yeah, it's just I love this movie, and I think it's my number one because it is just the one that I revisit more often, at least since it came out. I probably still think I've seen Mask of the Phantasm more times because of all those years prior to this coming out. But still, like, yeah, I just think that it hits all the right notes, and everything about it works, and that is a hell of a feat to pull off.
Well, and very much like you said about Mask of the Phantasm, this movie ends on such a tragic note.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, talk about a bittersweet ending.
Yeah. We're
And-
seeing a pattern here, eh?
And the point of the movie is, like you were talking about, I mean, I agree with you. Jason should have stayed dead. And he's best used as that, that haunting memory. But in this movie, even though he's alive, he's still haunting Batman in this story.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's
He
why
has
it works
to stay
so
that
well.
failure. He has to stay the failure even when he comes back, and that's the great part about the ending of the film is, like Batman says, this doesn't change anything. This doesn't change anything at all. Like, he's still that failure. He has to stay that failure for him to mean something. And I think that's why I don't particularly care for the Red Hood being a true Bat family ally, because I like him more as the failure. And if he becomes an ally, and it's like he's forgiven for doing all this stuff out of nowhere, like I don't know, that's a tangent for the comics, but I just love the way this movie ends with Batman realizing that yeah, he's back, but it's almost a greater failure now that he's back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. I did not expect all three of us, or 3 out of 4 of us, to have Under the Red Hood as number 1, but
You're all wrong.
that's okay. I'm not even sure I disagree with you.
No, and I might put this on more than Mask of the Phantasm now for the reason you just said. Like, it's newer, so I've seen Mask of the Phantasm how many times?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's at Mask of the Phantasm. I can kind of replay the whole damn thing in my head because I've seen it so many times. So, Yeah, for anybody who goes, you're wrong, Mask of the Phantasm's better, I'm not even gonna fight you on it. That's fine.
Nope.
I don't even disagree. Like, they're both so good. And again, it's just the thinnest of margins of why I put one over the other. But yeah, that's where we landed. And I'm glad that one of us had Mask of the Phantasm as number one, so we can avoid angry emails. As if.
I was about to say, are you sure?
Come on. Well, there you go. Our number ones: 3 for Under the Red Hood, 1 for Mask of the Phantasm. Weirdos, all of us. But
lots of good representation for awesome movies, though.
I do feel like all of our top fives pretty damn solid, right?
I think so.
Yeah, pretty happy with it. Well, that's where we stand. But whenever we do one of these ranking episodes, I like to see what the people are saying. I want to get your votes. And you guys even reminded me, like, Andy, we know that you love crunching numbers. And you know what? I do love it. But then I always regret it because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get all those votes and tally them up and assign numbers to them. But I do it, and I'm happy to do it because we get to see how people voted. So I did put it out there and got a lot of responses, a lot of votes for how I just asked for everybody to, out of the list of 25, to rank their top 10. Because I was not inputting data for all 25 for every single person. So I said, out of these 25, pick your top 10. We'll go from there. There are a few of y'all out there, stubborn SOBs, who put in ones that weren't on the list. And for that, I just say, congratulations, you threw your vote away. I hope you're proud of yourself. Follow the rules. Someone's like, I'm adding this one. I'm like, that's fine. It's not going to get counted, but you can add it. I don't care. But anyway, so I did tally up everybody's votes. And so here, this is kind of fun. Of our list of 25, only one movie was not in anyone's top 10.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Really?
1 out of 25 was in no one's top 10. Does anybody want to wager a guess?
Is it Harley Quinn?
It is not.
Batman Ninja.
Nope.
No, I knew people would have that.
Jesus.
Killing Joke?
Nope. It is, I'll tell you, because I don't know if you're going to get it. It's Batman versus Two-Face.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, it gets no respect.
I guess because it is the sequel.
I think it's because it's the sequel, yeah. But yeah,
Wow.
not a single person put that in their top 10. A handful put. I mean, coming in at the bottom is Batman vs. Two-Face, and then number 24 was Batman and Harley Quinn. Only
Okay.
2 people had it in their top 10.
Man.
And then Batman Ninja right under that.
Mhm.
Oh,
So-
I hate it that Batman versus Two-Face was lower than those two.
I know, right?
Oh well.
It's okay.
That's my
What-
bottom 3.
Oh, I forgot you had Two-Face that low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, you want to hear the top 10 as voted by the listeners?
Let's hear it.
Sure do.
And I'll tell you what, I like this because, like, yes, there are a lot of curveballs in there with everybody's top 10, including ours, but everybody's. But like, once you put it all together, you kind of reach this equilibrium, and the list starts feeling really good.
Mhm.
So that being said, number 10, Gotham by Gaslight.
Okay. That's
Number
a decent
9.
spot for that one.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Number 9, Batman Year One.
Okay.
I honestly
That's why I thought.
You did say, yeah, it got some love.
Yeah, that's why I thought I was going to be in trouble for having it so low, because I was surprised at how much love it got. Because honestly, my recollection when it came out was that it was not particularly well received.
See, I see so many people talk about it, though. I wouldn't have been surprised if it would have been actually a little bit higher than that.
Huh. Okay.
I remember when it came out loving the Catwoman bonus cartoon on it more than the actual movie.
Yeah.
That's a good Catwoman cartoon, that one.
I have to revisit it. I don't think I've seen it since it came out.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
All right. Number 8, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm just happy it made the top 10.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that could go either way if
Yeah.
people aren't, huge Ninja Turtles fans.
Yeah. Number 7, Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Number 6, Batman The Long Halloween.
Oh, I'm happy it made the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and here's the thing is on this list, what I like is that it's like you've got entries from that are old, that are new, and everything in between, which is good. Because, it's easy to have like nostalgia bias or recency bias, but we get a little bit of everything, which is good. All right, number 5, the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Right smack bang in the middle.
that's right. Suck on that, Brendan.
I think I think people either love it or hate it, and I know a lot more people love it than are like me and just can't stand it. So it makes sense.
Yeah. Number 4, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Yeah, I feel like the top 4 should be pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know the order, but I think it should be what we expect.
Yeah, I see where it's going.
Number 3, The Dark Knight Returns.
Cool. Well, yeah, this is starting to make sense.
Yeah, it all started.
Yeah.
The top 4, yeah, you're right. It's kind of what you expect. Number 2, Batman Under the Red Hood.
Yep.
And the number 1, with a bullet, Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Not surprised in the
No, of course. I'm not either. I'm
the cliche answer. I went with the majority there.
That's okay. And I'll tell you, everyone but one person had Mask of the Phantasm in their top 10.
That's
really
good. That's cool.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, who was the one?
I don't remember.
Okay. I didn't know.
I'd have to go back and check all the votes, but I mean, I've got a spreadsheet in front of me that's literally just numbers. So
I didn't know if it stuck out to you.
No, I don't remember.
Okay.
It's somebody who like was like, oh, these are my favorites. Like, and it didn't seem like they put a lot of attention into like ranking. It was more just like, oh, here, and then they just threw out, so.
I'm surprised that more than one person had Under the Red Hood not in their top 10.
Wait. Let me look. Just for funsies.
Or Dark Knight Returns. Like I figure all of those would be in everyone's top 10.
They more or less are. There's a handful that aren't, but
okay.
Yeah,
you don't have to go.
Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah, only had one person who did not put it in their top 10. Under the Red Hood had a couple, and so did Dark Knight Returns.
Do you know off the top of your head how many voters there were?
No,
that's okay. I just wasn't sure how you had it all worked out.
Well,
but yeah.
I think that's about how I expected it to shake out, though.
For the top 10, like again, I feel pretty good about that list for the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only one for me, year one, I wouldn't put it there, but hey, I know I'm the outsider when it comes to that, so I don't mind it.
I don't feel that you are.
But everything else, like I feel pretty good about it.
It seems like
I'm sad number 11 is Batman and Scooby-Doo Brave and the Bold. So like I was like, the fact that it came that close top 10 made me very happy.
Yeah.
That was 11. So that made me happy. But there you go, guys, everybody who voted, thank you. I really appreciate it. I love seeing what you guys are thinking. I loved looking at everybody's lists. Especially because of some of those curveballs. Like I'm more delighted by those than anything, because I'm like, wow, like that's great. You put that high. That's awesome. Like there's something for everyone. And I think that's super fun. So, thank you to everybody who participated. Thank you to everybody who sent me their votes. And, there we go. Now we have the definitive list of Batman animated films.
Oh, and we shouted him out on TFR, but Matthew Malecki, thank you for bringing this idea.
Yeah. This one, you're right. I meant to say that at the beginning. Matt Malecki, friend of the show, both shows, and he's the one who was like, hey, now that you've done the live action films, do the animated ones. And at the time I was like, oh, that seems like a tall order. That feels like a lot of work. But between the four of us, we made it happen. We pared it down. We made it work. And now we've done it. Check. Matthew, I hope it lived up to your expectations. If not, I'm sorry, but we're not doing it again.
It's a daunting task when you're looking at the list.
Yeah, especially the initial list when we were like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, there's no way, this is insane." And honestly, I I have a hunch that's why Jamie's watching Driving Miss Daisy. I think he saw the list, his eyes went crossed, and he's like, I'm out.
Yeah. Which is okay.
Which is fine. Which is fine. It's his. I'm docking his pay. He gets one less ball deodorant than the rest of us. So really, who's paying for it but Mrs. Drooly? That's who's going to suffer.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But all right, guys, we've done it. High fives all around. I was waiting to see whether, what time it would be, whether or not to crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox, but it's late. We've been doing this a long time. So I am just going to push off the Wayne Manor mailbox till next time, or maybe make it its own mini episode, something like that. But, cause we've done our due diligence this evening, and I think we all deserve a break. And I think there's food waiting for me, downstairs, which is probably cold by now, but it's food nonetheless. So
yeah, I think I've got the same situation going, Andy.
Yeah, but this was super fun, guys. I'm glad we made it happen. The crossover, Fire Rises, Holy BatCast, the Visionary Alliance.
The multiverse is all mixed up.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Andy. From our side of things, we really appreciate you. We heard this idea and we decided we wanted to reach out and see if you were interested in combining. And I'm so grateful you were. We've had a blast with it. It was fun organizing the list. Like you said, daunting, but it was a whole lot of fun. And we've had a blast with you and Brendan doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys. And you guys have been super supportive of our show since we started it. So thank you for having us on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, our pleasure. Like I said, we're all big one happy Bat family, and I'm glad we made it work out. Honestly, the only reason it hasn't happened sooner is just, as you all know, the struggles of scheduling podcasts. It's hard enough for me to get time with Brendan or Jamie, let alone bringing in extra people. So it's all that. It's logistics more than anything. But it was fun, worth the wait. Anyway, guys, Eric, we'll let you start. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so far as my personal accounts, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at mecarter89. That's mecarter89. And you can find our podcast, The Fire Rises, that Joe co-hosts with me, on all your podcasting platforms. And you can find us on social media at TFRBatPod. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
All right, awesome. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me over at the podcast with Eric at The Fire Rises. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as J411. And you can find me over in the Real Fans groups on Facebook as Joe Fornarato, Fornarotto.
All right. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
I always forget Letterboxd.
I know. I'm been trying to get better at it.
I replaced Vero with Letterboxd because I don't really use Vero anymore.
Well, the Snyder cut's out, so why would you?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Brendan, tell our friends where they can find you.
You can find me in the Real Fans groups, obviously on Facebook, on Twitter at Loey007. I'm on Letterboxd as well. I think I'm under Loey007 on that one as well. Just the regular haunts and on Holy BatCast as always.
Sweet. All right. I already told you guys where to find me, but thank you for joining us. Thanks for downloading or listening to the show. We appreciate it. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And please, if you love the show, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's quick, it's easy, it's free, and it's a great way to just show your support. We would appreciate that. Visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast at rf4rm.com. Again, we didn't read it this time, but we will get to it next time. And we do like hearing your feedback and your thoughts, so share those, please. Our theme music was created by Gora Vegeteswar, so big thank you to him. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to do a little online shopping this week. Go to manscaped.com, check out their boxers or the lawn trimmer, and if you're going to buy something, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. That'll do it. On behalf of Eric, Joe, and Brendan, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
And for those of you who are curious, Jamie gave Driving Miss Daisy 4.5 stars on Letterboxd.
Oh, well, I was curious. Thank you. Now I don't have to check.
Obviously worth his time.